connection is weak. Join me, people. Come, join me. So, doing another live thing tonight. They're building an audience for me. Was gonna wait, and then had a bunch of stuff happen, so figured I'd talk about it a little bit. I'm letting people join in, so when you join up later, you can, if you watch this later, you can just scoot ahead a little bit. First off, a couple things. I'm planning on doing this stuff for a while. Like I said, I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I'm planning on doing this for a good long while. My plan for this whole thing that I'm doing was roughly 20, 25 years that I'll be doing this. Pretty straightforward. I think I've got the energy to pay attention for that long. And also, remember, Jon Stewart sucked for a couple years. Really, those first couple years, man, it was just, you had to build the audience right and talk and learn how to tell the jokes and do all that business. So you gotta give me a little bit of patience as I figure out what the hell I'm doing, and also how I'm going to do this. So let's get right into what I want to talk about tonight. So, Bannon. How about that? How fun is that? Steve Bannon. If you haven't figured out who he is yet, all right, I'm trying to keep it calm on this kind of stuff. Hey, Anthony. So, a lot of people don't understand how the alt-right, the alternative right, which is the PC term for neo-Nazis, really kind of took hold. I've known about Breitbart and the racist cesspool that it is for a long time. Anybody who spends a lot of time online chatting with people, and you do and you go, anybody who doesn't believe me and anybody who doesn't understand the opposition to Bannon's appointment, go read the comments on Breitbart. And just go do it. And if your eyes don't do some of that, then okay, fine, you show me that link. Read the black crime tag. There's not a white crime tag, so I'm just go and read the comments and see what the kind of community that has been created by Bannon, Steve Bannon, who douche nozzle fuckhead. I'm gonna have to come up with some good names for him, but who was appointed to the chief strategist. He's what we would call him as the minister of propaganda, because that's what his point is to try and keep the people riled up. Remember how the campaign kind of changed a little bit, and you saw these things coming out from him, and you're like, oh, that's not, he's saying this stuff, but it sounds like he's saying this in a way that he's trying to make it appeal to white people who don't want to feel racist, right? It wasn't like he's actually trying to appeal to the black community. It's more he's trying to cover for white racism and other things. And I know this is hard to hear, and I know people hate talking about this stuff. Go read the comments on Breitbart. The racism there, it's a cesspool of this stuff. And it's just, this is kind of what scares a lot of people. Then now that Bannon is there in the White House, this is the thing that bothers people and is very, I think, dangerous. So keep watching this. I'll have an update. I'm going to do another show, I think Sunday, that's the plan. So we'll go from there. But yeah, the Bannon thing, the alt-right, the way that they came up around, and I posted another link, you can scoot down and read that too, with some of those tweets and talking about this. And the radicalization of this group of young men here in the U.S. And I'm familiar with it, not in the hardcore sense, but it's something that's always been on the periphery, the pickup artist community and the whole men's rights activist stuff, and there is a certain portion of this, and I think this is why we need to talk, right? Everybody needs to talk, because there's a lot of people talking about, I'll get to this a little bit, some of the blowback on the culture wars, and this is, their argument is against the feminazi, remember that? This is the the easy, nice, clean side of the alt-right, it gets way, way, way worse as you go further down into the rabbit hole. So we're going to talk about this more going on, but understand Bannon is a flat-out bigot, anti-Semite, those things. I don't know, you might have missed it in those Trump final ads where there were those allusions to the Jews that run the world and are the ones that are keeping you down. That kind of anti-Semitism is straight out of Bannon, and that's where he comes from. I've been criticized before of being an anti-Semite because I will criticize the actions of the state of Israel because I don't necessarily always agree with them, but the anti-Semitism of this kind of stuff, that whole Jews control everything, is really, really fucked up and dangerous, and I don't think that we should normalize it. So the test, I have a friend of mine, I doubt he'll watch this, I have a question about him because he's a very conservative guy, he calls himself libertarian, whatever, but his test was, well, we'll see who he appoints, right? And we'll see who he surrounds himself with. And that question of who he surrounds himself with is going to define how the information that he gets, the decisions that he makes, who he talks to. And when Bannon is a direct link to the alt-right and this link of stuff, and there's some really nasty, this is the brown shirts, so on that side, if you're worried about that, and, John, by the way, I didn't get back to your comment. I loved playing cards with you. I really enjoyed our discussion previously. I hope you keep watching. I'll try and comment that you do, and I'm kind of trying to shout out to people. I'm sorry if that's awkward to everyone else. I don't know how this whole thing works anyway. But I had a discussion with my friend John about whether or not this guy is a fascist a while back, and my friend doesn't think so. I think the reaction to his failures will trend quickly towards fascism. And we'll get to those failures and what's going to happen as far as that when you put something totally incompetent in a position of great power and responsibility. Just not a good idea. So that's a little bit, we'll talk about them later. I'm going to move on to the next thing. Two biggest untold stories real quick from the election. The effectiveness of voter ID and voter suppression. You'll see that. You'll see a lot more stuff coming out about that later. That was the 2 to 3 percentage points is what I thought ultimately would come out of that. Hardcore voter ID and suppression, maybe 5 percentage points. So I think the FBI pushed it close enough that switched over in those close states. Megyn Kelly, are you familiar with her? She's on the Fox thing. She's a good-looking woman, I don't doubt. I have some questions about her ethics because of two things. One, the whole sexual harassment thing that Roger Ailes did at the network that she didn't speak out about until other people did. And then she's like, oh yeah, that happened. He's horrible. Okay. All right. But, hello? So anyway, and then now we've got this thing where she comes out and is like, oh yeah, he tried to bribe us. Oh yeah, he was offering free flights and all sorts of stuff if we would give him good coverage. And she actually talks about this this was one of the big untold stories of the election. And it's like, well, don't you have a freaking news show that you can just tell people that he tried to bribe you? I don't get how that is something you cover up. But Fox is now going to go in full propaganda mode. So anybody now who questions the president is probably treasonous. We'll see how bad they go and how quickly. Moving on. Like I said on my comment earlier, the FBI now has on every politician in the country forever the same thing that they had on Hillary, that they might bring up to the last couple weeks of the election, which is nothing. So we've got that. There's another this is the scary part thing. So Hillary's vote lead nationwide continues to grow. It's about 1 million. It's probably going to be 2 million because California loves counting votes and loves voting for not idiots. Whatever, sorry. I really need to come up with a word to call them. I can't. I don't know. Every time I have to just be creative, and I'm not that quick on my feet usually. Not with that kind of emotional attachment to that noun, that proper noun. So anyway, he's losing by 1 million votes plus. It's probably going to be 2. And he tweets this morning that had he really wanted to, he could have won the popular vote. Not, the mindset here, again, folks, you need to understand real quick, he's a pathological liar. He lies when he doesn't need to. And my wife was mentioning, oh, he's a narcissist of epic proportions. It's like, no. He's a narcissist. He's just a narcissist with a great deal of power, so that just magnifies it. But this notion here that I could have won the popular vote if I wanted to, but, as my wife pointed out, he's jealous. He's jealous of her, and he just won. He's won the biggest prize in the world, and he's jealous. So moving on, there is, it's chilling. Whatever, that is what it is. Again, I had a great day. It was fun. It was a beautiful day. Kids are awesome. So life is wonderful. But I don't want to scare people. But I think you should be aware and be aware of what's going on. That's why I'm doing this. Ultimately, I do. Like I said, there's other people who do this kind of stuff. Whatever. I throw my hat in the ring. I'm reading what I'm trying to talk about next, and this was something that came up earlier today. And these next few things kind of go all together a little bit, and kind of I don't know how I can really talk about this. All right, we're 10 minutes in. I'm trying to keep these about 20, 25, maybe 30, if that goes. But it gets so, undisjointed when I just keep going on. So anyway, there's this smug thing, the liberal kind of just talking smack. You're being too mean to the rural folk, and you're just not listening. And this conversation, I think, will go on and on and on. I'm having a longer conversation on Bob Say's page. He's a guy who ran here in Colorado against Ken Buck, and talking to some people about the direction of the Democratic Party and stuff like that. But I think ultimately the issue, and this is what I'm going to tell you right now, part of the issue is there is a sizable portion of the white population of this country that simply does not want to assimilate into what this country is becoming. And they don't want to, and they're not going to. And so that, I don't know how you reach out to that exactly. I don't know how you reach a common ground with that thing other than what we have done already, which is say you don't have to live in the cities. You can go live there, but now they're like, oh, we ain't got nothing. Well, tell me what, because what is being proposed by Trump is not going to work. So none of this stuff these ideas, the shovel-ready, what I've seen the numbers is $1 trillion plan over 10 years, which is $100 billion a year, which is not, great, but we do $400 billion a year of trade with France, who they're now planning to, if we drop out of the Paris climate agreement, they're going to tax our stuff. Hee hee hee. Isn't this fun? So, these costs and how they're going to come together. So anyway, talking to these people, and how do we get to that common ground? You see my wife's hot legs there? Yeah. I'm a lucky man. There's no lie about that. But so how we can reach this common ground on this, and let me read you this paragraph real quick. This is from that Are You Fucking Kidding Me Hillary thing. It's like, congrats everyone! You put up with 16 months of me lecturing you about dumb bullshit like, policy ideas and not being super fucking racist all the time. You watched 3 times on national TV as I had the nerve to make a rich man, look foolish. And some of you even campaigned for me. Can you imagine? I made you campaign for me instead of carrying the entire fucking country on my back in kitten heels. Whew. Must have been really rough for you guys. Anyway, so part of this, and this thing also, what this is saying here, and also a lot of the tax that ultimately happened with all the PACs and everything, the sexist stuff and this, it played exactly into the alt-right and their hatred of what this country is becoming, and that women are becoming equal, and there has been, and this is again the quote that you've probably seen it around, like the move to equality from privilege feels like oppression. And when when you've been up here and you come down, and that's what there's a lot of the appeal to that. So the danger again is, as I've said before, is you make these promises, they don't come true. You've blamed these people, now they don't come true. Now they want someone new to blame. Meanwhile, you're like tweeting about who knows what is gonna distract him, squirrel. So I didn't watch the 60 Minutes interview, but there's a couple points of it that I want to talk about. One is this 2 to 3 million deportations thing. There's not that many criminals here in the country illegally. So in order to get those numbers up, it's going to get nasty. So if he tries to immediately do a whole bunch of people, it's going to get real nasty. Also, again, the way that this guy is So I've got a couple small kids, right? And sometimes they do stuff that I would prefer they not, right? If you've ever had children, perhaps you're familiar with this. Where they do something that you're like, you stop it. Has that ever worked when you just go, stop it? Does that work on a 2-year-old? Does that work on a 4-year-old? Stop it. I'm looking at the camera. He did that in this, if people are, defacing churches where immigrants go, and, maybe if they're dropping flyers about how, black people are, and I don't even want to talk about it. I linked this stuff earlier. You can read about it. If they're doing that, then, stop it. So that's the kind of soaring oratory you could expect. And I don't expect that to particularly change. This isn't. Is it going to happen? I got a little bit lost on my thing. Sorry on that. So, see, I can't pause live, so now I just have to cover as I'm trying to figure this out. So I take a sip of my drink, read my thing, hope somebody comments, but I don't know. I don't know if you saw this. This was the other thing. After the 60 Minutes interview, the Ivanka jewelry people sent out an email to all the media about how the thing that she wore during the 60 Minutes interview was available for sale, which is direct corruption. That's the definition of it. Guys, she's not selling those so she can buy HIV drugs for kids in Africa. Like that other lady was taking money to do. That you called corruption. All right, anyway, so we got that. Another quick little jokes. I think we're wrapping up pretty close here. Sorry. So it turns out that this guy named Ben Carson is not going to be a part of the administration because, I'm a doctor and I don't know how to run a federal agency. Why would I want to do that? I just ran for president. There's a disconnect in the world, and I'm having fun with it. Andy Borowitz is a good one to add on there. So this concept of how to fight this and how to fight, and people are like, fight fire with fire with fire and all that, and I think I'm going to try and fight stupidity with intense intellectual conversation. So I would like people to conversate as much as possible. I know sometimes I can be a little rough in the comments, but I hope people understand that a lot of that is directed at individuals. Like Jeff, like one of the guys who's like, oh, you're a fucking idiot, blah, blah, blah. The guy is a vet. He's a tough guy. He's been yelled at before. He can take it. Other people, not so much, right? So if you start picking on my other friends, I will stop you and I'll block you. But I do want people to comment. I do want people to talk. You have to talk. And that comment I wrote the other day about how I called my son, hey, Corey, what's going on? I did that. That's real. That's you should be doing that. That's how we fight this and how we win, and you get involved and do this. And we can still win. It's, again, you only lose when you quit fighting. That's the only way to stop. So I just wanted to talk a little bit tonight. Again, a bunch of stuff happened. You can go through and listen later. I know this was a little different than the other night, but we'll keep weakening. Oh, there's another thing, and I'll be talking about some other even weirder shit when we get to it. This isn't all going to be all politics and news. Have you seen the Rival movie? Anybody? That was a fun one for me. And there's some fight what? What do you mean? Fight what? Did you see the part about Bannon? Yeah, that's what I'm fighting, I think. But I guess that is a good question. Fight what? Fight against what's coming? I'm thinking about all of that stuff. The fight here is calling. It's talking to people. This is the fight. Fight the stupidity. Fight the racisms. Call it out. That's what you're fighting. That's what you're fighting against. The foolishness, the move towards chaos. That's what we're fighting against, I think. Ultimately. What are we fighting for is, of course, all the good things. Love, happiness, joy. If I had a little better prepared remarks on this, I'd actually go into this. And I actually had this kind of join me, rah-rah, but I'm about done, and I don't know if I want to. But this is why I was talking about the Arrival thing, because what is coming? Have you seen what's happening? So with the Brexit stuff, we had if you don't know what happened over the last week, we've had as many like racist and terrorist racial incidents as we did over the last 6 months, over the last week, and that is prior to what happens once this actually gets enshrined. I'm not going to stop name-calling. They need to own what's happening. I'm not name-calling them. These are people who've been yelling at me for years and years. I would highly recommend you go read the comments on Breitbart. Please. And then come back, Marcia, and tell me what they said. Go and talk to them. Because that's who... when I'm talking about these racists, and Bannon is no doubt a racist. It's just, I read about him. Go read the stuff that they put on there. I go talk to those people, and then come back and talk to me. Because I'm not name-calling Trump voters. What they did was empowered bigots and empowered racists. Not everyone who voted for Trump is a racist. Not every single one of them is. But as I posted earlier, they are fine with it. Well, indeed, you all have opinions. Absolutely. But there's a point when opinions start to cause physical pain and danger. So we all have opinions, but what is your opinion on a school teacher telling her kids that they're going to get deported now that Trump is there? Is that what a school teacher should do? I mean, what is your opinion on that? Because that, to me, is so beyond the pale of... And that's empowered by Trump. And this is why I say it has to be owned. Because that's empowered by Trump. When you run a campaign on bigotry and racist, and it's run by a bigot and a racist... No, go read... I want you to go read Breitbart comments. Go read them. So I do a lot of stuff when people kind of tend to disagree with me in a sense on that kind of stuff. I go read Breitbart's comments. When has he ever said that? What is that? Again, I'm not playing this whole vague thing. Go read this. When people do things like this, I say there's experiences that you can have. Excuse me, I should say there's experiences I have had that you apparently have not had. And I would encourage you to have those experiences before you question what I'm saying about them. So I'm saying go read the comments on Breitbart. Go tell them that black people are perfectly fine. Obama isn't a racist. That is correct. Obama is not a racist. Do you think Obama is a racist? Well, this live stuff's fun. But yes, no, I'm sorry, I'll play and have fun with this for a while, but I would like to have this conversation. Obama, go watch his speech go watch Obama's speech. His speeches on this are amazing. His concept of race and the way that our country's history is incredible. He was a professor of this. He studied it for years. He was raised by white people. He took so much shit for you. How could he be a racist? He took so much shit for you. Obama isn't a racist, question mark. No, it's period. Obama isn't a racist. I don't know what you think a racist is if you think Obama is a racist. I guess is how I would go. Because that question to me, and maybe this is part of what we need to have this discussion about, is what is this concept, this word racism, and how does it fit? And I can give you a quick, I see, and this is the fun part of live, this isn't my prepared notes. Let's see, did I define when I think of racism? No. But I hope people can have a discussion with these comments and talk about it. My wife is wildly better at this than I am, and discussing the concepts of racism and where they feed in. You say that people who voted for Trump are racist. I just said that's not... I didn't say that. I said if you vote for Trump, you empowered a racist. There are definitely racists that voted for Trump, but not everyone who voted for Trump is a racist. You say that people that voted for Trump are racist, so what exactly does it mean then? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark, question mark. I'm not sure exactly what your question is, to be honest. I've said very clearly, I don't think everyone who voted for Trump is a racist. I think that they are empowering racism and bigotry with their vote, and I think they need to own that vote. I think if you go and try and talk to the people on Breitbart, and go to those comments, go talk to them. People are like, well, you need to go to the Midwest and talk to some farmers and understand that they don't like that their way of life is disappearing. It is disappearing, and that's... Yeah, Joe, I'm with you on that. Obama has been a fine example of a Christian man. It's him and Pope Frank have probably done more for the religion than evangelicals have done over the last 30 years. And have you seen Arrival? Because I want to talk about that and why I'm talking, maybe, and how that relates to what we were just talking about half a second ago. But anyway, we'll get to that later, because that's the God tease. We got it. We got the God tease. I will be preaching, like, straight up. You have called people that voted for Trump racist, bigots, and uneducated. I have. I know a number of racists who did vote for Trump. So when you say you have called people that voted for Trump racist, there are people who voted for Trump that are racist. So that's fine. There are bigots and very uneducated people. When the people who say, like, oh, Trump's going to do this or that, and then I get their explanation for what they think is going to happen or how that's going to work, it doesn't make any sense. And so that's where the education comes in, and knowing that, well, what he's saying is not true, that can't work. And when you fall for it, it is the people who tend to be uneducated that fall for a scam. And I'm going to call it, as I see it, this truth and this reality is this, we're not seeing this. I don't think, so this is why I'm doing this, so that's great, because I don't think there's good people having these discussions and talking about it. I think a lot of the people in our media are really bad, and I'm not going to go into that. That's a whole nother discussion, and we're past time. But, and everyone who voted for BO was not racist and college educated. And everyone who voted for BO was not racist and college educated. Everyone, comments with everyone and all, and I hope do you guys pick up on how like precise I try to be sometimes with my language. And this is, I know I fail because here I'm having this, we disagree, that's all, but what you disagree with is math and science. You can't disagree that, oh, well, I don't believe that the world is getting warmer and it's humans to blame. That's not a logical disagreement. That's flat out rejecting reality. It's just saying, nah, I don't believe in shit. That's not a conversation. And I don't know how to, and I'm being, there are certain things where there's not a point of halfway, right? And the thing on climate change, and I can talk about a couple others, and I hope we can continue to have an honest conversation, and hear some of the questions, because that obviously this changes what I was planning on talking about wildly, but it's not a scam. It is a scam, and I want to show you. And if you read some of the stuff that you've already been scammed on, the wall is gone. Obamacare's sticking around. Lobbyists are the ones who are writing everything right now. He has no idea what he's doing. Who do you think does stuff? People who work there. What are they called? Lobbyists. So he's got. I can write about a little bit about some of the stuff. Like, okay, so let me give you a quick example, right? So, Chris Christie was supposed to run the transition, right? And then, I don't know if you know this, but Chris Christie arrested Jared's dad, and we're not going to have Chris Christie running this because he arrested Jared's dad. So they fired Chris Christie from running the transition team to put Mike Pence in charge. Well, guess what, Gully G. Willikers, Batman? There are legal rules, right? There are legal rules to who gets to do this, and you have to sign a piece of paper that you agree to them, and you're not going to tell them about how Obama and his secret thing, you're not going to tell them about the aliens in the basement and all that. And until you sign this piece of paper, you don't get to do it, and Pence had forgot to sign it. So there's a clusterfuck of epic proportions going on right now because we put someone utterly unqualified to do an amazingly important job. TD! So, I have gone well over time, but I do appreciate it. No, and if we can have an interaction and I can try and explain a little bit more, because to write what I've just said would take far longer than this, and this is why I think I've moved to this other medium, because I think it works better. And I think it's going to be more fun. And go see the Arrival movie, because I'm going to do, on some Sunday stuff, right, when we start talking about morality a little bit, I'm going to, man, it's so fun. Check that movie out. I liked it a lot. But anyway, thank you, everyone, for watching. It was wonderful. We shall do it again. Sunday's the plan right now. Unless things go crazy and out of control. I'm going to throw some other links up there. I still didn't put the other ones because I'm trying. So, I want to stop. Before I tried to do this stuff, I let things get build up, and then would be too much. And so I'm just, if it gets too much, then I'm going to talk. But we'll do at least once a week, and maybe more. Thank you for everybody else who joined in. And thank you, Marsha. I appreciate it. It takes a great deal of courage to stand up and say that. And I want everyone to be nice, please, in my comments. I want to be the meanest person around, and if we can do it that way. And then as I slowly become nicer, as everybody in the world becomes better, everybody will be nicer. So just let me be the meanest one in my comment section, please. Have a wonderful night. I love you all. The world is great. We'll be fine. Thank you.